Adequate notice of this meeting has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6. On January 21st, 2026, proper notice was sent to the electronic news sources of record, filed with the municipal clerk at the Township of Bridgewater, and posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Please be aware of the Planning Board policy for public hearings. No new applications will be heard after 9:30 p.m., and no new testimony will be taken after 10 p.m. Hearing assistance is available upon request. Accommodations will be made for individuals with a disability pursuant to the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, provided the individual with the disability provides 48 hours advance notice to the Planning Department Secretary before the public meeting. However, if the individual should require special equipment or services, such as a CART transcriber, 7 days advance notice, excluding weekends and holidays, may be necessary. I would ask that everyone please rise to salute the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Probst, could I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Vesio,
Here.
Mr. Bongiorno,
Here.
Councilwoman Isla,
Here.
Mr. Pappas.
Here.
Mr. Magora. Mr. Wang,
Here.
Ms. Sikora, Mr. Banga, Ms. Chartowich, Mr. Chowdhury, Mr. Atkins, Mr. Peck, Board Attorney,
Here.
Mr. Burr, Board Engineer, Ms. Sarmad, Board Planner. Here. You have a quorum, you can proceed.
Thank you, Ms. Probst. At this time, if there are any members of the public that wish to address the board on any matter that's not listed on tonight's agenda, please feel free to come forward at this time. Okay, seeing none, moving along. Okay, the sole point of business this evening is a land development application, and that's application 25021PB, 1200 Route 22, Land Investors LLC. And this is for a preliminary major subdivision. If I could just make a quick note, if you are here this evening, this application that will be heard is solely and strictly for hearing of a subdivision, a lot subdivision. Any other subsequent use essentially would have to come before this board at a later date for a site plan. Mr. Peck, what are some of the things that we can expect from members of the public if they'd like to actually understand what could be taking place on this site in the future?
Well, the purpose of a subdivision application is to see if the proposal conforms with the township's subdivision ordinance. So if, if they require any variances associated with that, if they don't meet certain criteria of the subdivision ordinance, then they would need a variance, and that would be for further debate. But right now, the question is, does the proposal conform with the subdivision ordinance? That's all it is. And with the subdivision, that just means you're taking a lot and you're reconfiguring the lot lines. That's all. And as the chairman said, any proposed development, this is not going to contemplate any development of any kind this evening. When there is a development proposal, that will be a separate application, and notice will be published. Well, there's new ways of publishing now, but it'll be on the website, and it'll still go to everybody who's within 200 feet, and all that. But that would be, as the chairman said, a separate site plan application, whatever the use is. This is just to determine whether their proposed lot configuration conforms with the zoning ordinance.
Could I get some clarification? On the agenda, it says something beyond that. And so that needs to be clarified, and I think, correct?
Well, that may be, but that has nothing to do with the subdivision application.
Right.
I think that's certainly one permitted use in the zone that can come. But again, we're not going to see anything related to that tonight, to any proposed use. Whatever they decide to do in the future, they're gonna have to come back here with a full site plan, addressing, whatever use that's proposed.
So this property is site of an area in need of redevelopment and has a plan that was approved that captures a couple of permitted uses. And so either of those that are part of the approved plan would have to come back to this board for site plan approval, as you've said, and the approved uses are limited to those two specifically delineated in the redevelopment plan, which would be a data center or senior housing.
That's correct.
So, and if they would want to propose something that differs from that is an entirely different issue that probably cannot be dealt with by this
You would need an amendment to the redevelopment
the
plan.
governing body. Yeah,
If you're going to change something substantive.
right. So the reference to this on the agenda is somewhat inaccurate in that as you said, it's just for subdivision. That's the topic of tonight's agenda, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And the use, that's certainly a viable possibility, but we won't know for sure till a site plan application comes in.
Mr. Pappas, thank you very much for that inquiry. And Mr. Peck, thank you for keeping us honest and giving us some further clarification on that. Any questions?
I had a question, since there are a lot of people in the room. Does anyone know if they currently are within that 200 feet of the proposed area? Could you raise your hand? Okay. And everyone else who's not will be notified through our public website.
It'll be on the
Yeah.
website, and also every municipality now has to have some sort of, because newspapers don't exist anymore, you used to have to publish in papers. So now, every municipality has to have a digital news source in lieu of the newspaper. But yeah, anyone who raised their hand, you're gonna get something in the mail, certified mail, whenever a site plan application comes in. Everyone else, it's just gonna be on, the municipal website, and what is the Bridgewater tap into is what we use here, I believe.
Yeah.
Let's tap
Tap
into.
into, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
where it will be.
Great, thank you.
All property owners within 200 feet have to be notified by the applicant.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, by certified mail.
Thank you very much, Ms. Councilwoman Isla. Okay, moving along. Again, for that preliminary major subdivision commonly known as 1210 and 1220 Route 22, who will be representing the applicant this evening?
Can you hear me okay? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, Jeffrey Cheney. Good evening, members of the board and board professionals. My name is Jeffrey Cheney. I'm an associate of the law firm of Connell Foley, located at 56 Livingston Avenue, Roseland, New Jersey. To my left also is Kevin Coakley, partner of Connell Foley. We present the applicant 1200 Route 22 Land Investors LLC and 1200 Route 22 Land Holdings LLC on the application before you this evening. I'm going to turn it over to Kevin, who's just going to provide a brief overview of how we got here.
Yes, this has gone on for maybe 3 or 4 years. Excuse me,
Might have to bring it a little further down as well.
going green.
On green on his.
Yeah. How's that? Good? Not good? Pretty close? How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so this property was purchased by the current owner approximately 3 or 4 years ago, just before the municipality changed the zoning of the property to eliminate warehouse use. So at that point, there was, efforts to kind of address that change of zoning. There was a use variance application filed. There was litigation filed. But ultimately, and I guess most importantly, that led to the adoption of the redevelopment plan, not only because it's good for the property and good for the township, but because it resolves these matters. It will resolve these matters going forward. So I just wanted to give you that background and then turn it over to Mr. Cheney.
Thank you, Kevin. So, as we heard from the board attorney, the applicant is seeking preliminary major subdivision approval tonight to carve out 3 single-family residential lots and a cul-de-sac along Woodside Lane as required by the Graymark redevelopment plan. Notice of this application was provided more than 10 days prior to the hearing in the planning board's designated official electronic news source, Tap Into the Breeze, and provided certified return receipt requested to all property owners owning property within 200 feet in all directions from the outer boundaries of the subject property via certified mail return receipt requested more than 10 days prior to this hearing. An affidavit of service has been filed with the board secretary, and as such, we believe jurisdiction properly lies with this board. As Kevin noted, this is the first step in the broader process of redevelopment of the Graymark office tract. Applicant is the owner of the properties and is presently seeking designation as a redeveloper. Importantly, the township has indicated that it will waive the requirement that the applicant have executed a redevelopment agreement with the township prior to filing any application for development of the property. Per the Graymark redevelopment plan, redevelopment of the property must include at least 3 single-family detached residential dwellings to be located along the western street line of Woodside Lane. Further, a new cul-de-sac bulb must be constructed to create a northern terminus. The preliminary subdivision application before the board tonight simply seeks to set in motion those residential approvals. As the board attorney indicated, the greater redevelopment of the property is not before the board tonight. That will be a subsequent application, and just to also add another use that's permitted under the Graymark redevelopment plan is also indoor commercial recreational facilities. We are in receipt of the following review letters from the township staff and professionals. The joint engineering review memo dated March 12, 2026, a zoning officer memo, which is undated, an environmental and health official memo dated March 11, 2026, a fire official memo dated March 2, 2026, a traffic safety memo dated February 25, 2026, and a sewer utility memo dated February 24, 2025. Tonight, in support of the application, we'll call upon the following professionals. Upon actually just one professional this evening, Ryan Caden from Bowler Engineering, of respect to the specifics of the proposed project and to entertain any questions posed by the board. With that, I will turn it over to Mr. Caden, if I can ask the board attorney to swear him in.
Do you swear that the testimony you're going to give in connection with this hearing will be the truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Could you state and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Ryan Caden, K-A-D-E-N.
Thank you. Can you please just state your education and your background?
I'm currently an assistant project manager with Bowler Engineering, which is located at 30 Independence Boulevard in Warren, New Jersey. I have a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from New Jersey Institute of Technology. I've been practicing civil engineering for the last 5.5 years. This is actually my first time appearing in front of a board. I've attended and discussed at multiple technical review committees in White Township as well as Edgewater Park. I am a professional licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey within good standing.
Thank you. We ask that the board accept Mr. Caden as a licensed professional engineer.
Yes. Does the board have any objections to Mr. Caden's qualifications? Please proceed.
Thank you. And what materials did you review and exhibits did you prepare in preparation for this hearing?
In preparation, we reviewed the submitted subdivision plan prepared by Control Point Associates, as well as the Graymark Office Tract redevelopment plan prepared by the township here.
Are you familiar with the property?
Yes, the property is located at 1210 and 1220 US Route 22, Bridgewater, New Jersey.
And are you familiar with the Graymark redevelopment plan?
Yes, that's been reviewed prior to this.
Okay. And where's the property located?
So we have actually provided some additional exhibits here. If I could mark this in here, we have up on the board.
We'll call that A1 with today's date.
And once you've got that marked, I'm just going to ask you to briefly describe what we're looking at here, especially for the people at home that may be attending via Zoom.
Yeah, so here we have just an existing lot layout plan that clearly denotes the lots within the Graymark Office Tract redevelopment plan. We wanted to provide this exhibit to just clearly demonstrate the existing conditions of the site and the surrounding uses and neighborhood environment around the redevelopment area.
Can you just walk us through the existing layout?
Yep, so page south is technically north, actually, as the north arrow points down. So the site is bounded by US Highway Route 22 on the north side of the property. As we work clockwise, the eastern portion of the property along Route 22 is commercial districts with a car dealership and an existing gas station. As you move south and south of our property, it consists of residential developments along the eastern portion and the southern portion of the site. Continuing clockwise around the property and along Woodside Lane, we have existing residential developments. Outside of that, we have existing office space with the associated parking improvements that front US Route 22.
Excuse me, could you, since there aren't electronic exhibits that you didn't provide, is there a way you can turn that so the public can also
course.
see your exhibits? I know it's tough, so both the board and the public to. Is this? Yeah.
Trying to have it so the board as well as.
Public may have to relocate too. Well, we need to see it. The board needs to see it. The board needs to see it too, and I can't see it.
Oh, maybe the audience can go that side. Or
No, that's good. If
I
people
think
have
that's
to
the
see
best
it,
you're gonna get in that.
That's as good as
Yep.
it's gonna get. All right, thanks.
No problem. Can you briefly describe the subdivision, the proposed subdivision?
So in the existing conditions, we have lots 1.02, 1.03, 1.04, 2, and 2.01, which are all subject to the Graymark Office Tract redevelopment plan. Just want to note that lot 1.03 will be untouched during this proposed subdivision plan. So the lots that will be subdivided consist of 1.02, 1.04, 2, and 2.01. I have a secondary exhibit that can just demonstrate the proposed conditions of the subdivision, and I'll be getting to that shortly.
can you repeat it again, please?
Yes, so the proposed lots for the subdivision consist of the four lots, 1.02, 1.04, 2, and lot 2.01. And in the existing condition, lot 1.02, which is located on the eastern portion of the site, consists of 13.47 acres. It is currently vacant. There's a regulated stream that runs approximately from Route 22 towards the rear of the site. This regulated stream has an associated floodplain as well as buffers that are to remain and will not be inundated by this proposed application. Moving clockwise, lot 1.04, which is on the western portion of the site, is 7.35 acres in total. It is currently vacant. It is mostly lawn with some perimeter plantings, tree plantings around the south and western portion of the site around Woodside Lane. Additionally as well, there is an existing wetland located at the rear of the site that has an associated buffer that will not be impacted by this proposed subdivision. And then lastly, the other two lots that will be part of the subdivision consist of lot 2 and 2.01. Lot 2 is 0.1 acres, and lot 2.01 is 0.09 acres. Both lots are currently vacant with existing street tree plantings along the frontage of Woodside Lane. Looking at the proposed conditions, if I could flip this to our next exhibit, and we can mark that as A2. This exhibit, now marked as A2, dated today, March 17th, 2026. The main difference between this and the previous exhibit is this exhibit shows the proposed subdivision layout. So the previous lot lines that were shown in yellow have now been amended, and this is our proposed plan to subdivide to one larger lot that contains the majority of the site, as well as the 3 residential lots along Woodside Lane. Continuing, I just want to remind that this is an application for just the preliminary subdivision. There is no proposed site improvements, as the board had stated. Those proposed site improvements will need to be presented in front of the board at a site plan application and approved at a separate hearing. Looking for the proposed subdivision, we have lot 1.05, which we've denoted. This is subject to approval with the township's tax assessor, so we'll get that before we receive preliminary and final subdivision approval. But I have outlined that here, which is the majority of the site. We've come up with that number based on combining the previous lots, 1.02, and a portion of lot 1.04. This area of lot 1.05 consists of approximately 20.15 acres and is outlined here. Secondly, lot 2 and 2.01 in the existing condition will be subdivided into the proposed 3 lots along Woodside Lane. Those lots we've came up with a lot numbering of 2.04, 2.05, and 2.06. Again, those lot numberings are subject to approval by the township tax assessor. So those will be confirmed and finalized before preliminary and final approval.
I'm sorry, that was 0.04 through 0.06?
Yes, sir.
What is the exist acres for 2.2 and 2.1?
So for the existing lots of 2 and 2.1, previously those acreage, lot 2 is 0.18, lot 2.01 is 0.09 acres. So a portion of those lots will be subdivided, as well as a portion of the previous lot 1.04 to create these 3 new residential lots. When looking at our proposed subdivision layout here, we can start from page north. That's lot 2.04. The proposed lot area is 0.23 acres, which is approximately 10,026 square feet. This area is greater than the minimum lot area as required in Table 3 of the Graymark Office Track Redevelopment Plan. Additionally, the frontage lot width of lot 2.04 is approximately 111 feet, which is greater than the minimum lot width, which is from Table 3 of the Graymark Redevelopment Plan, which is 80 feet. Moving north, but page south, we have lot 2.05. This lot is approximately 0.23 acres. It is approximately 10,082 square feet, which is greater than the minimum lot area of Table 3 of the Graymark Redevelopment Plan. The proposed lot width is approximately 111 feet, which is greater than the minimum lot width requirement of 80 feet. Lastly, we have lot 2.06, which is at the bottom of Woodside Lane here. The proposed lot area of 2.06 is 0.37 acres, which is approximately 16,387 square feet. The proposed lot width of lot 2.06 is approximately 259 feet. Both of these values exceed the minimum lot area of 10,000 square feet and minimum lot width of 80 feet of Table 3 of the Graymark Office Tract Redevelopment Plan.
And Mr. Caden, I know there was a lot of numbers said just now. So just to confirm, each of these lots are in compliance with the Graymark Redevelopment Plan's bulk requirements. Is that correct?
Yes. I just want to state as well that, yes, these lots are currently in compliance with the Graymark Office Tract Redevelopment Plan, and as we don't currently have any proposed site improvements, as we previously stated, a site plan application will be filed for those proposed uses for the overall site development on lot 1.05, as well as the residential uses. I do want to touch base quickly on the utilities and stormwater management portion of the project. We are currently not proposing any proposed utilities or stormwater management for the site, but as these sites continue to go through site plan application, they will comply with the Graymark Office Tract Redevelopment. They will comply with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection's stormwater regulations, which are consistent through the rules of NJAC 7:8, as well as the local stormwater management regulations of Bridgewater Township.
Mr. Kane, are water and sewer extensions available, though, from the site?
Yes, there is water and sewer available on the sites here.
Thank you.
The last point I'd like to bring up is the natural features within the site. As this is a proposed subdivision application, all natural features are to remain and will not be impacted by our application tonight. Overall, I believe that concludes my testimony here. As shown on the submitted subdivision, the proposed lots are consistent with the Graymark Office Tract redevelopment plan. And any updates that may come tonight or part of comments that we have received will be updated and resubmitted to the town for preliminary and final subdivision approval.
Thank you very much, Mr. Caden, for that testimony. At this time, I'd like to open up to the members of the board for any questions regarding the testimony just heard. Mr. Chowdhury.
Thank you very much. What is the size for 1.03 and where it is actually 1.03 current, which will be undisturbed?
1.03 is approximately 6.8 acres, and that's going to remain as is with the office building and parking on site.
And which,
And that goes approximately from the bottom here along Route 22 and almost in line with Woodside Lane. It's this portion right here.
current parking lot size?
Yes, yep, that existing parking lot and office building will remain as is. And that access agreement that is between currently lot 1.03, 1.02, and 1.04 will remain for access to the site.
What's your plan against on the, near the Adamsville Road, that side? Yes?
That's going to remain as part of the overall lot 1.05 for now.
Okay, that is basically consists of 1.02 and 1.04 then.
Yes, yep. Previously, the lot line approximately down the middle will basically be removed, and those two lots will be combined with a portion obviously being dedicated to the 3 residential sites along Woodside Lane.
Acting Chairman, we cannot ask anything for future sites at this moment.
Not only on the testimony here.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, you'll get your chance.
Please stop it right now and then I'll come back again.
Thank you, Mr. Chowdhury. Any questions from this end?
I have one.
Mr. Pappas.
Yeah, the lot on the, I forget which lot number is on the westerly portion of the property. Easterly portion of the property, I'm sorry, yeah, that one. Isn't there a piece of the lot that goes easterly towards Adamsville Road?
There is a portion of the proposed lot 1.05 that does go towards Adamsville Road, yes.
Right. And are you familiar with the provisions of the redevelopment plan that address future usage of that? Or Mr. Coakley someone may be familiar with that.
Well, we're aware that there's no access from that side.
I just want that to be stated.
Yes.
Some people may wonder about that, because you look at the plan and you can see this, a portion of lot that goes to Adamsville, and I know that people would be concerned about, I know we're talking about a subdivision, but still, if you could address that specifically and the restrictions that are in existence there.
The access to the site is going to remain off of US Route 22 with the shared access agreement, as is today. There is, in this area, there's an existing stream and abundance of regulated wetlands and waterlands that would make access from that point very difficult.
But beyond that, there's language in the plan that I think prohibits that. I just want that on the record for everyone that's here.
Yes, the Graymark Office Tract Redevelopment Plan states under the redevelopment regulations, mandatory components number 8 off of Adamsville Road that no vehicular access will be permitted from Adamsville Road.
Thank you, Mr. Pappas. Mr. Magora.
Yes, I'm not sure you can answer this question, but do you have a blue sky estimate as to the square footage of the data center?
We do not have a proposed use for that lot as of yet, so we do not.
Mr. Magora, at this time, again, this is just for a subdivision.
It's a subdivision.
Right.
I understand, I'm just looking for where that data center might be.
We are unsure at this time. We don't have a proposed use. This is strictly for the subdivision.
It's not before the board this evening. Yeah.
And once again, for those that walked in later, tonight's purpose is this is an application to hear of a subdivision for a lot. There is no proposed site plan. When and if that should ever come to fruition, that will come before this board at a later date. Whatever chooses to come on, in front of us as far as the site plan goes, we will not be discussing that this evening because, again, that will be coming at a later date. This is just about a lot subdivision this evening.
And I do just want to clarify that the 3 residential lots will have direct access from Woodside Lane. And I did actually forget to mention, we are providing the dedication as requested with the Graymark Office redevelopment plan. The dedication is approximately 0.11 acres. It is located at the southern portion of Woodside Lane, and this is for the construction of the cul-de-sac bulb of Woodside Lane.
That was 1.1 acres?
0.11 acres.
0.11.
Yes.
And Mr. Kaden, with that dedication, and again, with the subdivision, the way that it's been presented, all utility and stormwater in this office tract is essentially going to remain as is from when this board last saw it under the Graymark redevelopment plan?
Yes, we are not currently proposing any improvements currently to the utilities as are right now.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Mr. Kaden? Very good. Anybody else?
Let's hear from professional.
Ms. Sarmed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one thing to get ahead of. There are the joint review that Mr. Burr and I prepared was based off of the subdivision plan that was submitted, that was prepared by Control Point Associates, not by Bowler. There are a number of questions, comments, cleanup items based on that plan, and I just want to make sure that, I'm not sure how that's going to get captured because the witness tonight is from Bowler, so a lot of it has to do with the actual subdivision plat and cleaning it up. So I'll just ask them how that will happen.
Control Point Associates is a direct sub-consultant of ours, and we will have the plan updated and resubmitted for preliminary and final approval.
Thank you. I think one of the major items within the subdivision plan that I identified that was missing is there's no table that indicates the new lots and what their lot areas are. I think that's a pretty important point. Just tonight, we discovered that 1.05 is the lot that's going to be combined on the larger portion, and I don't know if we've heard yet how big that lot is in square footage and acres.
Yes, sorry. Lot 1.05 is approximately 20.15 acres. I do not have the square footage in front of me, so.
Yeah, I would just ask that get added to the plans. I would also request, just because of the nature of the plan that was submitted, it is almost a combined survey and subdivision plan, and I would request that the subdivision plat be done on a separate sheet so that it is more clear and clean. I would request that the table showing the new lots be also added, not a zoning table per se, but a plan that shows what lots previously existed, what their square footages were, and then a table or a column that shows what the new proposed lots are and what their square footages are, including the acres, so that if the plat is going to be filed, it'll preserve the information that we need.
Thank you, Ms. Sarmed. I noticed that several members of the board were looking in earnest for that table, myself included, so thank you for bringing that up as well. We'd like to look for that in the future.
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you. Just a question about the lot designation. I noticed that I know it's going to be up to the tax assessor, but for the residential lots right now in the area that they're included in, it's block 221, lot 2, and 2.01, and then it jumps to 04, 05, 06. I don't know what happened to 0.02 and 0.03.
I believe there's existing lots 02 and 03, page north, outside of the subject of the properties. So we were planning to continue from the last number.
Okay, so that was in the same block. Okay.
Yes.
I think that there are some items within the redevelopment plan that need to be captured as conditions of the subdivision plan. I indicated them in the review memo. Once those residential lots are created, they will essentially be buildable lots that will not be under the jurisdiction of this board. And if they do need bulk variance relief, they're going to end up as single-family homes at the zoning board. And so I think there are, and I'll let Mr. Burr talk about the stormwater management and kind of the implications that are the requirements of the plan and the implications of the overall lot and tract. But I think at a minimum, that cul-de-sac that was just discussed, and the dedication of the land towards the Woodside Lane cul-de-sac needs to be captured. That needs to be, those improvements need to be done before those homes can come in for plot plans at building. In order, and that's really to preserve the town, to make sure the improvements get done, and there isn't a home being built without the roadway being properly constructed, in addition to other improvements. I think in the same vein as that, I think there needs to be a condition that all of the single-family home lots that are being created, which is proposed 2.04, 2.05, 2.06, be subject to all of the township ordinance requirements, including landscaping, and the zoning requirements of the redevelopment plan. There is a note in the redevelopment plan that indicates that once the lots have been subdivided, they can be rezoned to R10. I just want to note that that's probably inaccurate. I think that they would have to go through a normal rezoning process through an ordinance. I don't think the redevelopment plan could allow that. So at the point where once they are subdivided, I think the rezoning can be accomplished, but that's a township council decision and effort, essentially. I think that most of the testimony has provided some of the cleanup as far as the lot designations and things like that, but I would like to make sure that the lot areas and everything make it onto that plat. So that's a major point. And other than that, I'll let Mr. Burr talk about some of the other improvements and any questions he has. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So first, just a point of clarification. What we're talking about here is just preliminary subdivision, correct? And that's acknowledged that the next step, after you perfect any conditions of the preliminary subdivision, that's when final subdivision gets applied for.
Correct.
And the act of applying for final subdivision allows you then to file the final plat, and that's essentially what will create the new 3 single-family dwellings, correct?
Correct.
And if the board approves the preliminary subdivision, we're talking about a few conditions, and you heard Ms. Sarmad, one of the conditions of the redevelopment plan that also we're recommending be a condition of this subdivision approval is the construction of that cul-de-sac bulb. I assume you have no issue with that as a condition? Well, the bonding, yes, I understand the bonding aspect, but creating those 3 new lots and obtaining construction permits and building homes, I think need to be subject to having built that cul-de-sac bulb.
Applicant would be willing to tie that to the CO, to the certificate of occupancy.
And, I just want to talk just a moment about stormwater management. And I know the testimony is that there's no stormwater being proposed as part of this subdivision, and that's correct because there are no site improvements being proposed. But stormwater management is an integral part of the overall development of this property. And in the absence of the site plan, which is going to come at some point in the future, I think it's critical that stormwater is still addressed as part of those 3 single-family lots. And I think without having the site plan dealing with stormwater holistically, those 3 lots are still going to be subject to the major development requirements from a stormwater perspective. So I just want to make that clear, and I would certainly recommend that as a condition as well. Because frankly, we don't know at what point the site plan may come through. That hasn't been presented at this point, and we're really just dealing with the paper subdivision. So the building of those 3 new homes, once those lots are created, do need to comply with the major development requirements. So just a point for the board and the applicant. And then the only other question I guess I have deals with landscaping. There is a provision in the landscape, the redevelopment plan that deals with the construction of a landscape buffer directly behind the 3 single-family lots to provide a landscape buffer from what may be built on the non-residential portion of the property. And I guess my question is it appropriate for that to be a condition of this subdivision approval as well? or would it be appropriate to defer that until, the future site plan? But that's the only other comment/question I have. I think the other two provisions, the cul-de-sac, the stormwater management, and then we heard that the applicant will agree to clean up the plan to address some of Ms. Sarmad's and I's other comments. That's all I have at this point. Thank you very
Now,
much.
the applicant had indicated when it comes to the cul-de-sac bulb, try to tie it to the CO as opposed to a condition of preliminary subdivision approval. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think if it's bonded, and I think if it's constructed before the first CO of the 3 COs, I think that would be appropriate. I wouldn't have an objection to that.
And I'm sorry, and then what was the last condition? I was too busy writing down.
There's a condition in the redevelopment plan, and I can pull it out, but it essentially states to constructing a 40-foot wide landscape buffer directly behind the 3 single-family lots to provide a vegetated screen from the future non-residential development, whatever that may come. I think there's 6 permitted uses. So whether or not that buffer gets constructed when the homes get constructed is my question. I guess there's pros and cons to that. I didn't hear you, Mark.
That's in the redevelopment plan?
That's in the redevelopment plan. Certainly getting the plants put in the ground sooner allows them to become a little bit more mature,
Sure, and right.
but you wouldn't want them to be disturbed at some point in the future when the rest of the site is built out. I think there's probably a way to protect them if the board's desire was to have that buffer go in sooner. But I wanted to bring it to the board's attention. The plan doesn't specify the timing of when the landscaping has to be put in. That's why it's a little bit of a question mark. Yeah, so, I think I have it here. So it says, a planted buffer with a minimum width of 40 feet shall be provided between non-residential uses, which is really the balance of the site, or age-restricted multifamily dwellings, and lots containing single-family detached dwellings. Those are the 3 lots that are going to be created along Woodside, and the required cul-de-sac. So it talks about putting a planted buffer between the non-residential uses and the single-family dwellings and cul-de-sac. Said buffer shall contain deciduous and evergreen trees and shrubs sufficient to create a year-round visual screen. Yeah, it doesn't say where the buffer needs to go, Kevin. It doesn't say.
Be on lot,
So presumably, it's going to be on proposed lot 105, which, as I understand, is the balance of the larger, the 20-acre lot, which could be subject to the future site plan. It's got to go there, because you're right, a 40-foot buffer and not enough room on the single-family lots to put that in. So I envision the 3 single-family lots down to the cul-de-sac, and on 105, that buffer goes.
So in one of the plans that I received in the package, so it'll be a 10 feet parking setback, and then it looks like it's a 40 feet residential buffer, and then a 70 feet side yard setback. Is that what you're reading?
Yes,
Kind of consecutive?
I think so, yes. Yep, exactly.
Just to draw the picture for everyone that,
Yeah, you're right, Councilwoman, I see that.
Caden,
40-foot residential buffer, and it is on proposed
Yeah.
lot 105.
Yeah, and
behind
then-
the single-family lot.
and it does go on the top too, it looks like, just for everyone. That's the Main Street side.
Mr. Caden, the proposed 3 residential lots, just for the benefit of everyone here, what's the depth of the lots from the,
I do
Road.
not have that on hand, but yeah, I'm not 100% on that one right now.
I'm sorry, say again? You talked about the width of the lots and the area, but I'm just curious what the depth is approximately.
Yes, sorry, they're approximately 90 feet deep.
Thank you. Just my comments following up on the councilwoman and Mr. Chowdhury, Mr. Burr, the issue of stormwater management. We've had cases before this board where there's maybe a two-lot subdivision and it wasn't preliminary, it was probably just preliminary and final, or I guess when it's only two lots, it's not considered a major
It's usually not.
subdivision, so we would not have to have preliminary and final, but we did talk extensively about the need for stormwater management to be maintained by the owner of any of these lots that are created. So any drainage structure that is required for any of the new lots would be required to be maintained, or the owner of those lots would be required to maintain those. Is there any objection to that?
For the residential lots? I don't believe so, no.
And again, I know that this is only preliminary, but I know that preliminary site subdivision approval is very significant, and the final is not insignificant, but I think the major points need to be dealt with at a preliminary level. It's been my experience. And so I think even the condition that Mr. Burr talked about the buffer requirement, I think should be dealt with here and not later. And then one point of clarification, I guess, for Mr. Peck, just as I think either Ms. Sarmat or Mr. Burr talked about, if these three residential lots are approved preliminarily and then final, they would not require site plan approval because they would be buildable lots. And I think they.
Correct, unless they wanted to situate a house like on a property line or something
Right,
unusual like
right.
that. But if they, no, presumably they would not need anything beyond, permits for the
Right.
township construction.
And that's why I think dealing with any of these issues now that would have an impact on those three single-family lots and the surrounding neighborhood, now's the time to do it. So I think for benefit of the public and everyone, I think, you folks need to, that's my opinion. I don't know if the other board members feel that way, but I think now's the time to address any of the board's conditions and, address that with you folks here and hopefully come to an agreement.
Thank you. Mr. Chowdhury, please.
So, Mr. Barr, I just wanted to clarify with you one thing, Mr. Barr. So what you are recommending to put a conditions that all the three residential lot or that should be treated as a distinctly different than combining it when the actual site plan will come.
From a stormwater perspective, stormwater management.
Stormwater or any other township regulations will be there. It will be considered as a single housing rather than a three housing as a one unit.
It would, if this subdivision application came in at the same time as the site plan that clearly showed how the balance of the property was going to be built out,
Right.
then that would absolutely be a major, what we call a major development from stormwater purposes, and you're going to have a number of different stormwater features proposed on the site. But because we don't know how the balance of the site is going to be built out, by creating these three new single-family lots, carving them out from the much larger 20-acre development, they are still part of that major development.
That's what I
It's
thought.
just, we don't have a plan to know how the rest of the site is going to be managed from a stormwater perspective. So if we're carving out the three single-family lots and they're going to get built at some point in the near future, unrelated to the rest of the site, then the only way to address that requirement is to make sure that those three lots also comply with the major development requirements of the township and state stormwater ordinances or stormwater requirements.
And that's what you actually wanted to be conditions now.
Has to be.
Exactly.
There's no way around it.
Right, thank
So
you.
that's how you would phrase the condition, it's just that the 3 single-family residential lots are subject to the major stormwater
Yes.
rules? And
I don't see any way around it.
on 1.05, they can,
Yeah,
they
the-
can tie everything in and,
Right, and it would be easy enough to say, well, couldn't we defer the stormwater from the single-family lots to the balance of the lot 105? The concern I have is, we don't know from a timing perspective when the rest of the site may come in for site plan and ultimately get built out.
Exactly.
If ever, I mean, frankly, so you can't treat stormwater at some point in the future for a project that's gonna get built, next year, even if it's just the single-family lots. So they have to be dealt with separately, but they still have an enhanced threshold.
Yeah, that's actually my
It's
follow-up.
very unique.
Yeah, my follow-up question wasn't related to that, because now we are only talking about hardly 0.7 or 0.8 acres for a single-family lot.
Right.
However, there will be something coming up in 20 acres lot, which is a huge, and so we are fully in sync with you, because stormwater management's criteria should be, included now rather than later. But at the same time, I probably have a question to you, Mr. Peck. Without knowing what may happen on the 20 acres, it's a huge lot. It can be done many things, office building and everything else can be done in multifamily houses and all these things. So I'm just asking you how we can approve it as a subdivision without knowing what may happen.
well, and that's what I just asked Mr. Burr. So what we would do if we get to that point is make as a condition of the subdivision approval that it's acknowledged that the 3 single-family lots are subject to the major stormwater regulations, and all applicable state and township regulations that have to do with stormwater. Because if they were just cut loose as a single-family lot, they could be developed without any of that. But if we make it a condition that they're subject to, when the big lot gets developed and puts in their stormwater facilities,
That has to be
they're
linked.
going to have to account as part of that approval, because of that condition, they're gonna have to account for the major stormwater on those 3 lots and design the system to capture any runoff from those lots as well.
And that's what you are putting as a condition.
That's
Thank you. Understood,
what I have
no
noted
questions.
as a condition.
Follow-up question to that. So if this board approves preliminary approval, creating this larger lot and the 3 single-family lots, with the condition that you've just mentioned about stormwater, is there anything that would prevent the applicant from coming back with just final approval for the 3 single-family lots? And what impact would the condition that you've just mentioned have on their ability to get that final approval if the stormwater planning is tied to the larger lot? You understand my question? Or not?
You're assuming that the proposed lot 1.05 is never developed?
No, I'm just saying if we grant preliminary approval and the applicant chooses to come back for final approval just for the 3 single-family lots, can they effectively do so without meeting the condition that we've just discussed?
I don't think
I don't think
I
so
don't know
then.
that they can parcel out the 3
Okay, okay,
lots.
okay.
they can't.
Because that condition would tie it together.
But I would say, like, if for some, I can't think of how they could, but if they were able to, we just carry that condition through any approval. So when that lot's developed, it accounts for the 3 residential lots. I'm sorry? Very good.
Very good. Once again, Mr. Peck, it's a mechanism that allows this board in order to look into the foreseeable future and say, we can tackle that issue when it comes to us.
Yes, yeah, and not subverting ourselves or limiting ourselves or anything like that. This, keeps everything on the up and up.
Mr. Bongiorno.
I have a quick question. Hopefully, one of our professionals could answer this. Can you explain the regulations, differences between the redevelopment plan and an R10 zone?
Yeah, it's actually a good question and one that I had just looked up myself. The R10 zone is different from what's in the redevelopment plan, actually. And I don't want to go point by point, but let me just pull up the
The highlights would be good.
The highlights, yeah, I think would be helpful. So the redevelopment plan requires an 80-foot lot width for a single-family residential dwelling, whereas the R10 zone requires a 100-foot lot width. It's the same minimum lot area, so it's 10,000 square feet, so that's a similarity. The coverage allowance is the same, 35% for both the redevelopment plan and the R10 zone.
R?
The FAR is the same at 0.25, the same height, same number of stories, and as far as the setbacks, give me 1 second. Setbacks. The front yard is a little less in the redevelopment plan. It is 25 feet, whereas 30 feet is required in the R10 zone. The side yard setback for an individual side yard is the same. The combined side yard for the R10 zone is 40 feet, and it's a little less in the redevelopment plan. It's 30 feet, and the rear yard is the same at 20 feet. So most generally the same, but some minor differences between.
So we're looking at between the front and the back setbacks, we're looking at about 50 feet. Average.
45 feet minimum.
45 feet minimum.
Correct.
And with a depth of 90 feet, the house could be up to 45 feet, maybe if it's within the building area.
45 feet deep, yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Bongiorno. Any other questions from our members of the board? Any other questions from our professionals? At this time, I'd like to welcome any member of the public that would like to ask a question based on the testimony just heard. Please come forward at this time.
And please remember to sign in as well.
If you could just please sign in and then quickly state your name and address for the record.
I'm signing and trying to write at the same time.
Take your time.
Name is Martha Havland. I live at 245 Woodside Lane in Bridgewater. And thank you for all the information you've provided. It differs from what we were provided on the website, so it's a little bit confusing for us. So I just had a couple of questions I were hoping you might be able to answer. One is you mentioned that there was water and sewer connectivity. I wondered where that was coming from for the residential. Is it coming from the street or is it coming from the rest of the property?
I don't know if that's been determined yet, as the proposed plans have.
Okay. I don't think there's water at the end of that street. Just so everyone knows. No city water. We're all on well water at that end. The front end has water. We do have sewers. I have a sewer. I don't know the houses at the end if they do, but there's no water. I would like to really reinforce the storm water management issue. We used to call Woodside Lane Lake Woodside because every time it rained, it flooded. The whole street flooded. You needed a boat, right? The township very graciously came in and gave us a whole new road and water management. And unfortunately, my neighbors on Adamsville now have Lake Adamsville. So all the water that used to be on Woodside is now on their side. I don't know what the plans are for these 3 lots, but I do think that it's critically important that what we have on Woodside continue to be maintained at that end. and anything that can be done to mitigate what happens on Adamsville, I'm sure my neighbors would appreciate. So I don't know, have you guys been on the street to know what needs to happen at that end in terms of water management? I guess there's no plan at this point?
Yeah, no, I have not been down to the street.
Okay. I wondered, and this is just me not having, I was asking my husband, like, how big is our lot? Because I don't know. How much do these lots mirror the sizes of the lots on the rest of Woodside Lane? Are they about the same? Are they bigger? Are they smaller? Do you know?
I would assume they're about the same, as I believe that is the R10 zone as well, which has the same minimum lot requirement, but I cannot confirm that, as I have not looked into the lot areas of the adjacent
Okay,
lots.
so it has the same minimum, but you don't know if the lots on the street are in fact generally larger?
I do not know that.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I think it would be nice to maintain what's happening on the street, and so knowing what's on the street might be useful.
Yes, I mean, the proposed lots are near the minimum. The two are at 10,000 square feet, and the one larger one, which has the portion of the bulb dedicated to it, the usable area, is similar to the other proposed lots as well.
So that's that red spot?
Yes.
That's sort of an awkward lot, because it's got that bulb.
That's why it's slightly larger, so there's a
Yes,
portion
like
that
it's
sticks
very
out
narrow.
around.
So is the buildable size on that lot the same as the build? You know, clearly that whole end of the lot, they're going to pay taxes on and not be able to use, unless they're me and they put up gardens, which is what I have on my lot. But otherwise, that's a very awkward little corner there. Is the rest of the lot still have the size it needs to put a house on?
It'll meet the requirements of the gray mark office track, so the front yard setbacks and all that will maintained and will be buildable within that area.
So the short answer is yes.
And Mr. Kane, that's an awkwardly shaped lot because
It
it's
is a
required.
very
Well, because it's required to be a cul-de-sac under the redevelopment plan. So it's just the nature of a cul-de-sac. That's where the bulb shape is emerging from.
All right, kind of
I
odd.
guess the question is the building envelope similar in size for the
Yes.
lot at the end near the cul-de-sac than the other two, right? That's basically your
Yeah,
question.
sorry, I didn't know.
Yes,
what
the three lots have
was.
similar building sizes and envelopes.
With the additional 3 houses, are you planning to put a fire hydrant in?
I don't believe we've looked at proposed improvements for that as part of this application.
Okay. There is only one fire hydrant on our street, and it's not close to this end.
That would be a consideration during the site plan when they're talking about extending utilities and that's when that would come up, would be during any site plan application.
Okay. And then, just out of curiosity, and this is just, again, me being curious, there are for sale signs already up. Is that common that you put for sale signs up for the lots even before they've been subdivided?
I'm not sure Mr. Caden can speak to that.
It's just, we were all surprised, I will say,
I
on
was
Woodside
there.
Lane to
I was there
see
today and
for
I saw
sale
the same
signs
thing.
there.
I was there today and I saw the same thing.
Yeah, it was a little odd. And then my last question, I appreciate your patience on all of this. So I understand there's a 40-foot, from the description, 40-foot of plantings that would happen between the residential lot and what happens. But I'm wondering, how far would a building be from that?
The building would meet the side yard setbacks that are off of the proposed residential lots within the gray mark redevelopment zone. So I believe looking at table 2, the setback to the residential uses is 70 feet. So from that residential use, the closest a building could be would be 70 feet.
70 feet? Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you.
you for your question, Ms. Havlin. Just a reminder to everybody, we're really looking for questions that are directed at the testimony just heard. There will be time for general commentary and any other comments that you'd like to make in public at the conclusion of this application. So right now, I think general questioning for the testimony just heard would be prudent.
Mr. Chairman, just one thing.
Yes.
Off of the member of the public's question about the fire hydrant or, comment about it. Mr. Burr just pointed out that the township fire marshal did request the fire hydrant on Woodside Lane, so I do think it probably is prudent to put that as a condition, particularly because Woodside Lane improvements are contemplated as a condition here prior to the first CO, and so obviously the fire hydrant would go in as those improvements are being made, and so I think it probably is something that should be captured under the preliminary conditions.
I thought there was no water there, though, from the first speaker.
That's going to be I don't know where they're going to get water from, if it's going to be from the existing site or what, but no matter what, if they are improving it and they are improving the road and the township fire marshal says he wants a fire hydrant, it's going to have to happen, so.
So it's a condition of approval, but it's also subject to change when a site plan comes in as well.
Well, the site plan might not, because it's no longer going to have frontage on Woodside Lane, the fire hydrant's really related to those single-family lots on Woodside. And the fire marshal notes that in in his review memo. And it's really about the staging. This is going to happen in phases. The single-family lots are proposed to be subdivided. They could move, once they're subdivided, they could move forward as long as the improvements to Woodside Lane are done. And obviously, the fire hydrant can't come after that, because once the improvements are done, you kind of lost that chance. So I think it is part and parcel to the Woodside Lane improvements as a condition themselves.
Mr. Peck, can we make that an official condition?
You can. You can. I mean, I would have thought, to do it all with the larger site plan when they're discussing utilities and whatnot, but there's certainly nothing preventing the board from making it a condition now.
Do I need a motion to do that?
No, that'll come at the end. What'll happen is, if there's a motion to approve the requested preliminary subdivision, there's been a bunch of conditions listed already. So the motion would, we'll go through each condition, and the motion would include all those conditions. But we're not there yet.
I just had a quick comment on the flooding issue. I'll definitely go and check it out. Usually I go before, but thanks for pointing that out. Both Adamsville and Woodside Lane hopefully is better now, but definitely Adamsville. Thank you for sharing that.
Claudette Vaught, 218 Woodside Lane. Just had a question about the residential lots, because I too walked that road and have seen the signs that the 3 lots are for sale. The company that is marketing those is actually saying on the site that it can be combined so that someone could build a custom house on all 3 lots. Are they 3 residential, single-family houses, or is it possible that someone could be building a mega mansion at the end of Woodside Lane?
How would you answer that?
I mean, again, it's, not part of Mr. Caden's testimony, and, certainly the approval is for 3 residential, single-family residential, and that's what's required under the redevelopment plan.
And again, the board could certainly, and thank you for bringing that to our attention, the board could certainly, if it wished, again, as a condition, say that these, can't be.
It's a requirement of the redevelopment plan. They have to provide no fewer than 3 residential lots.
Right, so there'd be no merger or.
There cannot be a merger, there has to be 3 residential lots.
Belt and suspenders, we can add it as a.
You add it, it's per page 10 of the redevelopment plan, item number 3.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the zoning won't be changed until after, and that's up to the council, I think. It's not going to automatically happen. It's not going to automatically switch. I think we will keep an eye on that if it's necessary. And that's probably, I have to say, redevelopment areas are like an overlay zone, and so they can go away. Once it's completed and you close out a redevelopment plan, it would go away, and then kind of the single-family zoning, it would revert back to whatever the original zoning, which was the M1A zone, I think, or whatever it is. And so they would be non-conforming. And so the purpose of that included in the redevelopment plan really was to capture that these are going to be residentially developed, and so the zoning should match that. And so down the line, once they are developed, I think we'll rezone them properly, and that they would have the minimum lot areas and everything that would match that. But no problem. Thanks.
Good evening.
John Arcolio, 1110 Washington Valley Road.
Sign in, please.
I did. Okay. The Woodside Road, I mean, the 3 lots start at the boundary of 360 Woodside Road and continue on, as far as I can see? It's sort of a contiguous with 360 on this, on the eastern side of the...
Yes, they line up directly with the lot above them.
And notoriously, those roads in that area have very narrow, no sidewalks, all those amenities we installed to sort of be compliant with any town ordinances in terms of sidewalks, curbing. Storm drains, I see there's one near 360, but you'll probably have to go additional storm drains down the road. I guess that's not in your plan right now?
Yes, we were strictly providing the proposed subdivision for that.
I'm going to make one comment on the rest of the lot, the larger lot that's going to be developed, a data center. I mean, I'm not going to get into sizes in terms of square footage. I'm just questioning height. Are you...
That's something, again, that
Even
is
height.
hypothetical, but
We don't have a plan before us.
there's no plan.
Just one quick question. Is 70 feet for a two-story data center allowed in that area? You can considering that?
Whatever the redevelopment plan. The redevelopment plan would have the bulk or the dimensional limits.
Yeah, it's
And
just
I don't
that,
believe 70 feet is, I haven't committed them to memory, but I don't believe 70 feet is a permitted height.
well, I mean, it's, a data center has 26-foot roofs. I'm aware of that.
I don't know.
Yeah, 26,
We're not talking about data because we
I
don't.
know, so a single story would be 40 feet. I'm only going to go over height. I'm not going to get into
Questions
size.
about his testimony only.
Okay.
That's the only reason.
I'll leave it at that. It's
he's
just,
supposed to be up there, is to ask him questions about his testimony only,
okay.
not
That's
speculation.
about it, just Woodside Road. I mean, thank you.
William Jasko, 401 Woodside Lane.
William? Yep. Could you just restate your name again into the mic a little bit?
William Jasko, Jasko. I live right across the street from the three lots right there, as proposed. One of the questions I just pulled up Realtor.com and Zillow. They both have pending, and they do say water in the street. That's one thing that, as we also heard earlier, there's beyond, as I was told when I moved in 2014, when they're redoing the roads, there's no water beyond the yellow house, right, or something like that. And so it was, so the water in the street, just to clarify that, and also with the sewer. The sewer, I think it's pretty important that the sewer is decided on where that goes, if it goes into the new development or into ours, and is our sewer that we have in our street, the storm sewer, as well as the sanitary sewer, are they adequate to handle 3 more homes? And also, the size of the homes as well. And also, as we all do have wells, what's the impact going to be on the wells with, say, the lot coverage, et cetera? That is concerned with the recharge zones for wells that, are they going to get recharged? Are they going to go dry? And with no water in the street, that's a concern. So what impact will that have on the existing wells on the street, the recharge areas, et cetera? I guess that's pretty much about it.
We don't have existing survey in that street, so we were unaware, how far that water line actually goes down and the impacts of the proposed 3 residential homes. This was strictly for the subdivision purposes, so we have not determined where that tie-in location, the sewer location, any of that has been determined yet.
Mr.
Fair to
Kane,
say that, again, once that site plan is brought in front of us, that discussion would take place at that time?
Yes.
And Mr. Kane, everything would be done according to township ordinance and township requirements.
Yes, everything will be done and performed with the municipal ordinance and requirements.
So if the condition of approval for the fire hydrant were made and part of the approval, the applicant would have to figure a way to bring water to have a fire hydrant there, and it would either be down Woodside Lane or through the larger lot, right?
I didn't hear you.
I said if the board, included that condition of approval of a fire hydrant on Woodside Lane, then public water would have to be extended to provide water for a hydrant, right? And it would have to either come down Woodside Lane from wherever it terminates, or I suppose it could come through the larger lot and extend through an easement to Woodside Lane. I mean, those are options.
And ultimately, it would be the water company that would have the final say.
Right,
as far as where the service is coming from. But yes, those are the
I mean,
two options.
The applicant would have to negotiate that with New Jersey American Water to determine which is the most appropriate option or which one that they can agree to.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
My name is Anthony D'Elia. I live at 13 Heather Hill Way. My first question is for Mr. Keenan. You say there are no proposed uses at this time, and yet the application that's before us on all of these screens clearly mentions a data center. If the owner doesn't currently have any proposed uses in mind, where did that come from, that representation?
It's one of the principally permitted uses of the redevelopment plan, but there is a list of approximately 10 that are within that redevelopment plan. So nothing has been finalized. We are unsure what that proposed use is going to be at this time.
Your testimony strikes me as still contradictory to what the application description says. It explicitly says, with one of the proposed lots intended for use as a data center. So that doesn't say for one of the 10 uses hypothetically listed under the redevelopment plan. It says it's intended for a data center. So I was just wondering where that representation comes from.
My belief is that we are not here for a site plan application and that the proposed use is yet to be determined, and it will be one of the permitted uses within the Gray Mark redevelopment plan. So
I understand that's been your representation all night. You're very adamant that everybody understands this.
that's the plan, yeah.
Representation has been made. Did you not participate in the preparation of the application?
Mr. D'Elia, this township prepared that agenda, and that's why I raised the question early, and it was probably not correct for the agenda to be, the wording to be included as it had been. That's why I questioned it.
Fair. You said, Mr. Caden, you said you're not currently proposing any changes to the utilities at this time, but do you anticipate there being a need for any development of additional utilities in terms of electrical or water infrastructure at the site, regardless of what hypothetical use the lot is put to?
I believe so. If there's a proposed use on that lot 1.05, it will need some sort of utilities, yes.
And as the other speakers have already asked you with regard to your testimony, you maintain that you haven't done any of the work to figure out how or where things like the water or the sewer are going to connect to these residential lots.
No, we have not. This was strictly for the subdivision purposes.
Okay.
So.
And I just wanted to lastly go back to the question about combining the residential lots, because I disagree that it's not part of the testimony. The testimony was that there would be 3 residential lots, not one combined lot on those 3 current spots, or the proposed spots, I should say. The entity selling the lots is advertising that they can be combined. So where is that representation coming from?
Well, let's stop right there, because the entity that's representing, they can say what they want, but they're wrong. Because if they get a subdivision approval here, it's going to be clear that those 3 lots can't be merged. They have to be standalone, 3 single-family lots. And that's going to be a condition of any subdivision approval. So these realtors are getting way ahead of themselves, it seems. I haven't seen any of this, but I've heard now several people calling it up. Not going to happen.
Mr. Peck, I understand that that's your position, but I'd like to hear a
Well,
response
they don't
from the
have,
applicant.
but I'm just saying I'm saying as a matter of law, they're not going to be able to do that.
I understand I understand. I would just like to hear from the applicant whether or not they agree or disagree that it's permitted under the current proposal before the board tonight to combine the lots.
Again, we've already said the redevelopment plan requires 3, and Mr. Caden has no involvement with the listing of the property. on a Zillow listing. He just doesn't have any involvement with that. So I'm not sure how that really pertains to the testimony that he's provided tonight.
He testified that it would be 3 lots, so I just want to know whether the applicants agree or disagree that the lots can be combined.
We've already said that we agree that they cannot be under the redevelopment plan. And the planner has also agreed to that tonight as well, in saying that they cannot be merged, that the redevelopment plan requires a minimum of 3.
Okay, that's all I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to, I know there was a question about where, the intended use, and that's not subject of this application. I just wanted to clarify that the cover letter from the applicant did talk about a data center. I don't know why. It's obviously not part of this application. I think it was a mistake. It is one of the allowed uses in the redevelopment plan, but this is not a site plan application. So it's a valid question from, the member of the public, but I think it's just should be noted, it's an error that it was included.
Thank you, Ms. Sarman.
But it's also an error that was put on the agenda.
I believe the agenda pulled it from their notice,
understand.
both their notice and their application information. So it was just a carryover from the information provided by the applicant.
I thank you both for bringing that up, and if anyone wants to see those 10 proposed, it's on page 12 of the redevelopment plan, correct? If they want to see what the 10 proposed are.
Yeah, they're not proposed. Those are 10 permitted uses.
Permitted, yeah,
it's
on the
like It's like a
redevelopment.
zoning ordinance in of itself. So those
Yeah.
are uses that are contemplated and permitted by the zone and allowed by it.
That's the case. I'd like my question answered.
I guess that's a legal question. If someone includes a cover letter, Mr. Peck,
Cover letter has no
it's not the application.
substantive
Right,
effect. Yeah,
right, right.
It's not evidence, it's not part of the application, it's not anything. And they may have been getting ahead of themselves, and they may be contemplating a data center, but that's not before us. And there's no testimony presented, there's been no application presented, so it would be highly improper, certainly to base any subdivision decision on potential future uses. I mean, the lot lines are the lot lines, and again, if it's consistent with the redevelopment plan, if it's consistent with the zoning ordinance, that's what this board is to look at, not speculative future uses. Whatever the future use that's proposed, again, is going to have to come back here. And that's where all questions about utilities and stormwater, all that will be addressed.
And that is why I asked the question earlier in the beginning of the agenda about, beginning of the meeting about that notation on the agenda. I think that was incorrect to be on the agenda because the purpose of the meeting is to, or this hearing is to talk about the subdivision, period.
And Mr. Pappas, just so you're aware, it appeared in their legal notice as well, the same way it appeared. So I don't want to complicate it. I just want to make it that the members of the public who do live within 200 feet probably got it in the legal notice that the applicant submitted to them, which is why.
Yeah, I can't, the applicant making it harder for themselves.
Yes.
I agree.
I don't know why, but that's, again, getting ahead of themselves. It's not a subdivision and site plan application, it's just a subdivision.
And when I was there earlier today, I'd been there earlier, and I saw those for sale signs, I thought I was going to raise the question. How is it that there can be legitimately 3 for sale signs when the subdivision hasn't even been approved yet?
Well, and
it
also
creates-
this application's only for preliminary.
Yeah, and it creates
If they get preliminary
confusion.
subdivision approval, they still need to come back and get final subdivision approval, and then they'll need to satisfy all the conditions, and, that all takes time. So to be selling lots on that, unless they're like futures contracts or something like that, some exotic thing, I don't know, but I don't know how any lot could be put on the market right now.
My name is Curtis Kraut, resident 199 Adamsville Road. I've looked at a lot of the paperwork that exists in the application file, and I guess just starting with the basics, like the last resident was mentioning, the description basically says that there are 5 lots to be reduced down to 4. And so that's lot 1.03, 1.04, 1.02 are the large tract lots, and then Lot 2 and 2.01 is that small section that currently exists. Now you're going to make 3 residential lots along Woodside Lane, and you still have, you're going to remove the dividing line between Lot 1.02 and 1.04 to make a large lot 1.05?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in the drawings, it's very confusing, but it says that that's lot 1.01.
Yes, that was incorrect. We are getting confirmation with the tax assessor, and we currently have it listed as lot 1.05, which is approximately 20.15 acres.
Similar to the point that the other gentleman made, is that in your description, although I understand this is a preliminary subdivision discussion explicitly, the description basically leads you to believe that a data center is imminent. So if the 3 residential lots and the 1 combined lot make 4 lots, then if you add in lot 1.03, that's still 5 lots.
Yes, there's still going to be 5 lots in the proposed condition. So 1.03 will remain untouched, unproposed, and changed. It will be exactly as it is in the existing condition.
I'm sorry, repeat that again?
There will be 5 lots as well in the existing condition. So the consolidated lots between 1.02 and 1.04 are consolidated into 1.05, and then the 3 residential lots as well as 1.03. So there's 5.
Really turning 4 lots into 4 lots.
Yes.
Just redrawing the internal lot lines is what they're doing.
Yes.
Okay, but the total number of lots that you're going to have in the end is 5.
Yes.
Okay. And the main reason for combining lot 1.02 and 1.04 is because of the future application that you want to put there?
Yes, for the proposed future development, which has been undecided.
Okay. And lot 1.03, I know this has been discussed numerous times, but that's where the existing Graymark building is today.
Yes, the existing office space.
Right. And what's confusing is whether or not lot 1.03 is included in the redevelopment plan along with the other empty elements of the tract that have not yet been developed.
Lot 1.03 is within the redevelopment plan, but as per this application, is not being updated. Its lot line will remain the same.
It is in the redevelopment plan?
Yes.
Okay. Well, in going through your application, and this is the application for a preliminary subdivision, okay, you include a subdivision plat, which basically is very suggestive of a phase. It basically refers to, it says for concept purposes only. But essentially, it refers to phases 1 and phases 2 of, I guess, the eventual development of this site. And right now, phase 1, I understand, is going to be consumed in lot 1.05, assuming that happens. But, and then you get approval and site plan approvals and all the other things that we need to see before going further. But phase 2 basically is yet a second proposed data center.
It would also
That's where the existing building is.
it would also require a site plan application and approval by the board. So that's it would require a site plan application and approval by the board. So that would be at a different hearing and held at a different time.
But it was my understanding when the redevelopment plan was discussed at the planning board and at the council that the Graymark building would remain, not be destroyed.
The proposed use of that lot, I don't believe, has been determined. From here right now, we are not adjusting that lot line. So currently, that lot is not being adjusted. So that's why we're currently showing it that way.
Yeah, and I can just add, if the redevelopment plan states that the Graymark office building is to remain, then it's going to remain unless they get an amendment to the redevelopment plan, which would mean going through the whole process again with the council and the planning board. I'm not representing what the redevelopment plan says with respect to that building, but if it does say that it has to remain, then unless the redevelopment plan gets amended by following the statutory process, it's remaining.
Right, but like I said, if this drawing wasn't in the
I
packet,
can't explain why they would put a concept plan in with the subdivision application. I can't, I can't, I'm not gonna speak to that, but it's not.
so just to clarify then what's going to happen tonight, okay? There's an application for a preliminary subdivision of the Graymark tract, and it's going to result in 5 net lots, where there were 5 original, and 3 of those are going to be residential lots that are going to take out a piece of lot 1.04 and be up against Woodside Lane. And then you're going to maybe agree that that's okay, and then they're going to have to come back at a future date to present a site plan.
They'll have to come back first to get final subdivision approval. Right.
Okay,
First, 2-step process, so they have to come back, do the whole thing again for final. Then, if they get that, once they perfect the subdivision, and by perfecting, it means they've satisfied all the conditions and obligations and whatnot that they would have to do. Once they perfect their subdivision, then they can come back with a site plan application for presumably lot 1.05, the large lot, which would be yet another application that would be subject to public notice, and that's where you get into the nitty-gritty.
yeah. I think it's been really misleading that, we're going down this path with a data center only option. And as the prior resident indicated, there are 10 possible uses that are indicated in the redevelopment plan, of which the data center is only one. So, I think in terms of you guys communicating to us, it needs to be a lot clearer, because I was thoroughly confused as to what this Phase 1, Phase 2 document represented, and I'm still really perturbed about what's going to happen in the future, especially with your data center.
With all due respect, I think the conversation about a hypothetical data center is exactly what's confusing this evening. I think, again, I need to refocus us here. We are discussing a redrawing of a lot this evening. So as you so adequately stated prior, we're really here to look at that redrawing and look at the 3 properties that essentially would be redrawn, and any and other talks that would have to come before us. As Mr. Peck said, there's going to have to be a final, and there's going to have to be a site plan actually submitted. So again, we're looking into the future here at this point. So I'd like to keep the focus, at least for the members of the dais, our professionals, and the members of the public, really on what's happening this evening. Because, we're going to have bigger questions that come out of this evening. And sometimes, murking it up a little bit with the discussion about what could be or what might not be, it's not appropriate for this evening.
Well, the redevelopment plan is explicit in that it says that there shall be 3 residential lots along Woodside Lane. And then it says for the rest of everything, it's one of these 10 things, basically. And
Could be. As per the Graymark redevelopment plan, there are other potential uses. But again, those will not be heard until we have a site plan before us.
right, but shouldn't there be justification then as to why the balance of lot 1.04 and 1.02 then need to be joined together? And why would the lot line
It's
have?
consistent with the redevelopment plan.
I'm sorry?
That's consistent with the redevelopment plan, which I believe contemplates having the 3 single-family lots plus the larger residual lot.
Just one lot? That's the point.
Well, right, and then the Graymark, the existing office building.
All right. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
May I address something you just said, Mr. Peck?
Sure.
So I think we're saying the same thing, but what I'm thinking of this application, beyond preliminary, it's a final subdivision application that would include a site plan application.
Well, you know, procedurally, there's more than one way to skin a cat, you know, if you wanted to combine
Well,
those, but that's not before us today, that's for sure.
No, but as long as we address all of the elements that are of concern of the board that will probably find their way into the present resolution, you know, we should be able to get final subdivision and site plan approval.
You got some elements you got to address, I mean, as
I
you've
don't
heard.
think, in the normal case at least, site plan approval is not an element of dividing 3 lots for residential purposes. But that's just my experience.
Good evening. Kathy Franco, Weemac Road, Martinsville, New Jersey. So I'm just trying to follow all this. So tonight we're looking at not only creating these 3 residential lots, but also then combining everything else into 1 lot that doesn't include the current gray mark building. Is that correct?
Yes, that would be proposed lot 1.05, whereas lot 1.03 that has the current gray mark building will remain.
Okay, so, so I know we talked about 10 possible uses for this property, but if we're combining like all these properties into one, and one of the uses was housing, and another was a data center, and I don't remember the other 8 or whatever, but I can't imagine the owner of a data center wanting to build housing. So are we combining things that are later going to have to be subdivided again? It's just my question.
No, there wouldn't be, like, right, if this subdivision were to go through,
okay, go ahead.
there would be single-family homes built on those 3 lots.
Right.
Gray mark building, stays as is, and then that remainder.
Which is basically
1.05,
which is like 3/4 of that big property.
Sure, no, absolutely, as it is intended to be. That large remainder lot, 1.02 plus the leftover 1.04, would be available for any of the permitted uses set forth in the redevelopment plan.
Okay, but at some point, I would anticipate that those anticipated uses, if it's more than one, is going to come back and ask to subdivide. Because as I said, I can't imagine, I can't imagine.
I guess theoretically you could, but and again, I haven't committed the redevelopment plan to memory. There might be certain bulk requirements for whatever goes in is proposed for lot 1.05. There might be a minimum lot size of 20 acres, which would preclude, subdivision.
Right.
So, but I guess theoretically it's possible that if on 1.05, if multiple uses were proposed, but I believe that would also need another amendment to the redevelopment plan.
Okay, because I was at all of those presentations of the redevelopment, both here for planning as well as at the town council. And I asked questions, and I do recall very clearly that, it was talked about the residential, about housing, and about a data center. Okay, so I would anticipate that those were the primary focus. I didn't hear the other 7 highlighted or talked about in any detail. They were skimmed over. They were on page 12 of the report, but they were not discussed in detail. So, that's why I'm asking the question as to, I would anticipate that, as I said, I can't imagine somebody building housing and somebody building a data center are going to be the same developer. It's like having a farmer and a trucker, saying, hey, let's share the property. It doesn't really work. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. The other thing is with this subdivision, and now you're taking these 3 residential lots, so I'm carving out and I'm taking this space out, okay, of the property. So now for people who live beyond.
Are you asking?
Oh, okay, well, I don't know if this is their question or it's
Well,
the planning. Okay.
As you,
Because-
as you
okay,
know,
So from area
you're
of
only
no.
supposed to ask questions on
Okay,
your
so,
testimony
so we're required to provide notice to people within 200 feet
as
of our
per any
property.
application.
Okay, so you've now taken out these 3 lots, okay? So if I live 200 feet from this border, okay, right now, but now this border is moved back 90 feet, okay? I would be 290 feet from whatever was going to be built on the large piece of property. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
But not-
And
But-
therefore,
Fine.
and therefore, the larger property, if this is subdivided off, would not be required to provide me with notice that they were doing anything. But that is correct. Well, but that, okay, but if they're recorded very quickly, it,
we don't have a subdivision.
well, after you get the final subdivision, then it can happen.
Seems like a long and arduous road ahead.
And in the meantime, there are residents who might be within 200 feet of this line, but now are going to be beyond the 200 feet of this line. So that's what, I'm asking on their behalf. I live 3 miles from this site. So I'm just asking because
You were aware of the hearing.
What?
You didn't get notice.
No, but that's because I do ask for the agendas to be sent to me. I read the public notices in all of the newspapers. Okay, I have alerts that are sent to my emails when things pop up. Okay, I get notified about Somerset County, about Warren Township. I get notified about a whole lot of things that border me and that can affect me, or in this case, my township. Okay?
That's a very sensible way to proceed.
Okay, so, but the whole thing is individuals are entitled to that notice if they are, within a range of.
But as I'm sure you're aware, it would be a very improper consideration for the board to determine whether or not to grant a subdivision on the fact that, well, in the future, somebody may not get notice who today could get.
No, but I am allowed to ask that question.
Well, I know, and I'm just reminding the board that would be an improper
Okay, thank you.
consideration.
Thank you. I think that's it. Thank you very much. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And to the Irish, it's really inappropriate that we had a meeting tonight, but thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to clarify the size.
If you
of
could
the
just
lot.
please state your name, please, and address for the record.
David Klesick, 215 Woodside Lane. That's Kleszyk. I realize the one that wraps around the cul-de-sac is a very unusual shape, but what are the exact dimensions of the other 2 lots?
The other 2 lots are approximately 111 feet wide by 90 feet deep, which gives you the area of approximately 10,026 square feet and 10,082 square feet.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you. Anybody else?
One last question. The applicant, are they actually looking to sell the 3 residential lots, or that's beyond your purview at this point?
That's beyond my knowledge.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. Peck, just to clarify, so basically we are approving or disapproving, whatever the decision may be, for 1.02 to 1.03 as a standalone, untouched lot, 1.04 and 2.0, 2.1, those are basically coming down to 2.04, 2.05, 2.06. Those 3 lots will be there from those existing 2.5 or.
Right, their proposed subdivision, where a piece
Right.
of 1.04, all of 2,
All
all
of
of 2.01 are gonna create those 3 single-family lots along Woodside. 1.03, which is the office building existing, not a part of this.
Not a part
Not
of
drawing
it.
those lines.
And-
But then everything else that's left over, which is all of 1.02
And-
and the remainder of 1.04,
Will be
that's
1.05.
going to become a proposed 1.05.
Okay.
So it's really just just reworking the internal lot lines, erasing some, moving others.
Right, with the conditions that we all talked about, including professionals, that will be the part of the approval process.
We'll go through that, but we're not there yet. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
I have noted a number of conditions.
Thank you.
Please, and if there are any other members of the public that wish to ask Mr. Kadin any other questions, please feel free to come forward at this time.
My name is Jack Schrum, C-H-R-U-M. I live at 245 Woodside Lane. Looking at the plan, it appears to me that the 3 lots that are proposed are going to be quite similar to the 2 that are just past, that are alongside it. And I feel, to me, it looks like I'm going to get an extra 90 feet buffer between what comes. And so from that point of view, I'm going to be getting it at the cost of maybe 6 extra cars driving up and down my street and maybe some extra stormwater. But I am curious if the lots that are going to be created will be desirable, and by any chance, did you query the residents of the 2 lots that are going to closely mimic to find out if they thought they were desirable lots? And is that even appropriate to find out? They might want to know, well, I have 2 lots already. Should I make 3 more that just look like the 2 I have? Are they desirable?
We did not query the existing residents, but this is part of the redevelopment plan to propose these 3 residential lots. That's why we had shown it that way.
That was what I thought, but I had to ask. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, that will close the public portion of this meeting for this witness. Please, one more before I close it up. Thank you. If you state your name again for the record.
Classic.
Mhm.
I just want to clarify a point. The previous planner here, I forget his name, was Michael Sarkeesian. When we got rezoned from R20 to R10, are you aware that the township promised us only 1 additional building lot for Woodside Lane, and now you're proposing 3?
I am not aware of that, but part of the Gray Mark redevelopment plan requires the 3 residential lots. Therefore, we are proposing the 3.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Last call. Okay, that'll close the public portion of this meeting for this witness. Mr. Kadin, do you have any other testimony?
That is all for me.
Thank you. Mr. Cheney, do you have any other witnesses?
No further witnesses this evening. Thank you.
Very much.
Time for the public to generally comment.
As Mr. Peck said, if there are any members of the public that wish to provide any commentary at this time, this would be the time to do it.
Yeah, so just to make it clear, the way it works is after each witness gives their testimony, the public and the board, everybody can question that witness only on what their testimony was. But now they have no more witnesses, so now the public can just generally comment. I like this project, I don't like this project, here's what I think about this project, whatever statement you want to make, as long as it's related to the application. So that's your time to be heard.
Martha Haviland again, 245 Woodside Lane. I have to say, I'm not necessarily opposed to having 3 more houses on the street, but I am very, very, very concerned that the communication that's been shared with the public and the neighbors has been so distressing. And communication not just in terms of what was provided to all of us on the websites, what was mailed to us, but what we see on the street. And so the trust level is pretty low. And I would hope that your board would recognize that and help to support the residents as much as you possibly can. And to that end, the fire hydrant, making sure there's actually water, making sure there's actually a drainage plan that makes sense. But I think in addition, even though I know the data center is not on the agenda, I think it is important for us to understand what is likely to be put onto the site and the impact that will have to the residents and the 3 new residents, and if it is going to need additional water infrastructure, which is likely, if it's going to need additional electric infrastructure, which is likely, what is that going to do to our taxes? What is that going to do to our ability to sell our residences? What is it going to do to our electric bill? What is it going to do to our wells? We all are on wells. And I don't think it's appropriate to make a decision about just subdividing without understanding the implications for the rest of what will likely be a project and impact not just these 3 sites, but the rest of us on the street. And so again, we're pretty distressed. And I think we're legitimately distressed given the information that's been provided to us. And I would hope that you would understand that and take that into recognition and make sure that what you require them to do in the order that it is required to be done actually gets done, because so far it hasn't at all been done in the appropriate order at all, right? The for sale signs are there. The letters have been sent. The plans have been shared. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. And I think it should be a problem for you and not just for me. And I hope that it is. Thank you.
Wait, before you go, Mr. Chairman, may I speak?
Mr. Bongiorno.
Is there something that given that this is a preliminary, are there questions or things we haven't looked into that you think we should be looking into in terms of protecting the residents and the township?
Mr. Bongiorno, I think they've been expressing that all night.
I think the stormwater issues, water in general, if this is in fact going to be a data center, it's going to need water.
Yes.
There's going to be water runoff. We already have water runoff problems in this area. It's going to need large amounts of electricity.
Again, now we're getting into, these are all site plan
I
issues
understand,
that would have to
I
be-
understand, but I think that in terms of protecting the residents, it's important to understand these and have the infrastructure in place before it happens, right?
Yeah.
But I think the other thing is that, if we're in fact going to have a fire hydrant, we need to know where the water is. The fire hydrant has to be put in before the houses are put in, right? So there needs to be timing of these things that's appropriate.
I think we brought that
So I appreciate
to the
that, but I appreciate your
forefront,
question.
didn't we?
Thank you.
I think this is for the public to speak and not necessarily for the board to engage in dialogue with the public. We should listen to the public, and then the board will then deliberate. But I appreciate the member of the public expressing her concerns. It's legitimate.
Thank you, Mr. Pappas. Again, everyone here at the dais will have time to deliberate the application before us this evening, but I do really want to hear the commentary this evening. It's important to this dais. Please.
I need to introduce myself again.
Sure.
Again, Anthony D'Elia. I live at 13 Heather Hill Way. I just wanted to say, I know that we're all engaged in this, act about how we don't really know what's going on here. Like, I understand that, this is just a preliminary step. However, speaking just from that perspective, what we've heard tonight, in my opinion, is evident of a plan that has been very sloppily or hastily put together. There's a lot of data that is not reflected in the plans. It seems like the drawings, based on the professionals' questioning, have not been submitted in a format that makes it easy to review. There's a lot of concerns from the townspeople that are not necessarily related to hypothetical future uses of this land that need to be addressed. And from the perspective of somebody who sat here and listened to everything that's been said tonight, I personally don't see how anything that has been presented to the board is ready at this stage for any kind of even preliminary decision. I mean, I understand that it's not necessarily required at this time, but there were no visits to the actual site. This is, it just seems like this is being done in a very slipshod, very hurried manner, trying to get through this process as fast as possible. And I think that's where a lot of the concerns from my fellow residents of Bridgewater are coming from. And so at this stage, I personally, if I was in your shoes, would ask for a lot more before voting in favor of even this preliminary step. And, otherwise, I guess I'll just leave it there. So thank you.
Thank you.
I visited the site today, and I've been there several times in the past. So, yes, someone has visited the site.
Respectfully, sir, I wasn't talking about the board. I was talking about the applicant, not the board. Right. It's the applicant that I'm talking about here.
Thank you.
Curtis Crowd on Adamsville Road. I've lived at my current address for 40 years. I'm very familiar with all the historical development applications and stuff on this property. And every application has been done under land use law and not redevelopment law. And the big issue that I'm running into with this application is similar to what the gentleman just said, is that it all seems very compartmentalized, and there's really, we've been through, just before the redevelopment plan went into effect, there was an application for a warehouse on this site. And before that, there was an application for a hotel. And then before that, there was an application for office buildings and restaurants. And, there's so many issues related to drainage, related to property grading, everything that really is not being addressed at all with this preliminary site plan. And I've never experienced any of those applications previously that didn't include a site plan as part of the application. And a lot of the questions that are coming up, I mean, I have a ton of questions about, infrastructure, water, sewer, especially electricity, given the fact that they've been talking about putting a data center on the property. The power substations, all these other things that were potentially to be used in the data center type application. Yet there are other 10 applications that might be considered. So it really just seems so piecemeal to do this on a preliminary site plan approval, come back again for a final approval, and then come out with some sort of site plan that actually, final subdivision approval, and then come out with a site plan that really discusses the meat of what everybody is interested in understanding. And, if I lived on Woodside Lane, I live on Adamsville Road, but I would want to make sure that, fire hydrant and water services and sewer were already there, and that all those provisions were there before subdividing anything. I think it seems like a premature application that's haphazardly put together, my opinion.
Thank you.
William Jasko, once again, from 401 Woodside Lane, right across from the lots there. The one thing I do see about the lots is that I do appreciate it's residential. Nice to have some neighbors there. However, jumping into that, as has been shared earlier, the trepidation there, just in that with the sewers, with the water supply, the drainage, the wells, and what effect would approving this have on the rest of the lot and development? Does that change anything? I don't know the details of that, but that would be a concern. Residential, I'm not opposed to that. It's much better than having a warehouse 50 feet from the property line, as was before, the parking lot, whatever it was. But just a concern is there that everything is researched well. Just the impact on the residents that are there right now, that it is able to handle those three houses, that the services, yes, fire hydrant may be in place. Yes, so the positives I see, but also just the precaution in just, before jumping too quickly into that, before getting too excited about, say, neighbors instead of a warehouse right there, would that mean, yes, then a data center is more likely, or something like that, which would have much greater negative impacts on the community as a whole. So just that note of precaution that I sense. So just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Klesick, 215 Woodside Lane. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be as nice as Martha. So I'm going to hit a little bit below the belt, what I have to say. I've been a resident on Woodside Lane for 40 years, and my folks moved to Bridgewater before my first birthday, and I'm looking at 72 years old now. Let me ask a very simple question. Are there any other areas in Bridgewater that are zoned for a data center? I don't believe so. This redevelopment plan for the gray marks started late in 2024 and was approved for a data center and other uses around this time last year. In other words, within 6 months, a data center came into play. A handful of us raised questions about the proposed changes. Most were focused on the data center. One person on the board voted no because of height problems, but the measure passed. During these meetings, Mr. Kirsch had said the owner of the property has every right to develop it. Since moving onto the street in 1986, there was approval to build 2 more office buildings that were never built by the owner. Other non-conforming applications were denied at later dates, but at some point the owner got approval for a changed office building design. So much to say that the land was basically strip cleared to the Eagles and Woodside Lane properties. Steel was delivered and rusted away for at least 10 years or more on site. So during this time, at least 2 times the owner had the opportunity to build. Now enter Bridgewater saying that there are in need of redevelopment are the Ethicon site, the Gray Mark site, and the Promenade Woods. There's enough traffic in the Promenade site. All those trees should be saved and not developed at any point. Getting back on the subject, I still don't understand what the rush to declare and change the zoning at the Gray Mark site. And once again, going off point, there are other areas of Bridgewater that are considered eyesores. By Mayor Munch's own words about 5 years ago, the property at the intersection of Adamsville Road and Indian Avenue he declared as an eyesore, yet that property remains as is. I can think of what I would consider 2 more eyesores of the vacant Verizon building with graffiti and unmowed grass on Route 22 to Adamsville Road. Another is the boarded up Club 21, a bar at Chimney Rock Road and East Main Street. Yet this town wants to cut more trees down on Route 202, 206, and get sued by Somerville and Bridgewater residents. Where is the common sense planning? As a long-term resident and attending meetings, whether it be variance, planning board, or council, I've really not seen this town listen wholeheartedly to concerns. And getting off subject again, When Arbor Glen was proposed, now or Laurel Circle, I asked a question about whether the four-story building and the more residential-looking villas could be flip-flopped. Mack Trucks and Vinderville School were on the villa side, and the four-story building was where houses would eventually be built on Jackson. My wife vividly remembers being told by an elected official, "Be lucky we don't condemn this area and make it a mall." Is Bridgewater really listening? I feel you've heard the problems with noise, water, and electricity issues that these data centers demand, and yet the zoning was changed. At these late 2025 meetings, I brought up the subject about dividing the property in 3 residential lots where none existed before. And just to say is I saw them, listed at $395,000, not a bad deal for the developer again. I feel that I've said enough right now, but thank you for your time and maybe listening.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, that'll close the public portion for commenting for this meeting. Mr. Peck, have we satisfied all conditions and requests?
Well, we have to, remains to be seen if they're going to satisfy all conditions, but unless the applicant has any more witnesses, do you rest?
Yes, we rest. Thank you for your attention and consideration this evening. We respectfully request the board grant the application based on the documents and information provided, as well as the testimony this evening. Thank you.
Before I open up for deliberation, yes, sure.
I have a question for, I guess, Mr. Peck and/or Ms. Sarmad. Just to restate, the application before us is for preliminary subdivision, and the lots that are proposed are conforming to the redevelopment plan ordinance?
Correct.
Okay. So they're conforming. This is a conforming application.
No variances.
No variances. Okay. So can I just make a couple of comments?
Please, I was just going to ask Ms. Sarmat and Mr. Burr if they had any other questions that needed to be satisfied.
I just wanted to clarify that many of the conditions that I'd recommended to the board, because this is a preliminary subdivision, I would like to see them on when they come in for final so that we can see them on a plan. Even though this isn't a site plan application, these are conditions related to the improvements that are going to be necessary. And I think that we can work with their team to make sure they make it on the plans, but I would like to see them as notes. Any conditions that are included in any resolution, if this board acts favorably, I would like to see them as notations on the plan that is ultimately recorded so that they are forever carried through.
Thank you. Mr. Pappas.
So I share the frustration by members of the public about certain aspects of the application that have been presented. I started off with just the agenda and how that provided confusion. I mentioned that I was there today and I saw the for sale signs. I think those things complicated this hearing that were unnecessarily, it didn't have to occur. And it distracted all of us from the application, which I just asked for clarification that this is a conforming subdivision, preliminary subdivision application. And I just want to make a couple of comments. I know this property has been the subject of many applications over the years, hotels. I've walked the site myself and I've seen the remains of some of the stormwater structures that were partially installed. It's not been the previously approved applications haven't come to fruition, and it's impacted the area. And those are some of the reasons that this area was designated as an area in need of redevelopment. I also think it's very important, while some folks here may not want to recognize that there was an application before the zoning board, I think it was the zoning board, for a warehouse. And the application, was it the zoning board or the planning board?
They came here first.
Okay.
And then.
I knew it was before one of the boards.
Ordinance got changed.
Yep.
Before before, then they,
So it was an application that the property owner had a right to ultimately have, I think, a warehouse constructed. And the governing body at the time changed the zone to prohibit warehouses. So there was then a legal action that was instituted between the property owner and the township regarding the position of the property owner to build a warehouse. And so the township determined that that was not something that the township officials wanted to see to occur. And so a lawsuit ensued. There was subsequently a settlement, and part of the settlement was the creation, the designation of this site as an area of redevelopment, and ultimately the redevelopment ordinance that was approved, that some people in this room didn't support. But that's the history of this, and if nothing had occurred, then the likelihood of a warehouse being constructed on this property would likely be the reality. And that's the choice that the township had ultimately. And so while people here may not appreciate aspects of this, the 3 residential lots, that was part of the redevelopment ordinance that this board approved and the council approved. And so they're here asking for this subdivision because it's part of the approved ordinance. And so the concerns about drainage, I share those. Anyone that comes to these meetings know even for much more insignificant subdivision applications, I have been a stickler among many board members about drainage and the impact to the adjoining properties. That is something that this board, through our professionals, are absolutely committed to ensuring that those issues are addressed. The other issues and concerns about electricity and other things, while not minimizing them, they're not a part of this application here tonight. And I agree, it would have been better if some of the paperwork here were cleaner, but it doesn't, in my opinion, unless Mr. Peck will correct me, it doesn't necessitate another application, nor does it necessarily necessitate the board delaying action here tonight. If this is a conforming preliminary subdivision application, there's, I don't think, any legal reason why this board can't consider this tonight. And so I think the entirety, the context of all of this, what I've said about a warehouse, about the litigation between the township and the property owner, how we got to this point is very, very relevant. I mean, people may not want to consider it or deal with it or recognize it, but that's part of the context of this. And so for that reason, those reasons, I would like to hear the conditions of approval that have been outlined, and other board members may have other conditions and professionals may have. But I felt it was really important to remind everyone in the context of how we got here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pappas, for those comments.
and the proposed conditions, since Mr. Pappas just asked, and again, there's a lot flying around, so I might have missed some. So I have, first of all, they have to provide a zoning table and a lot dimension table for their, resubmittal of the plans. The single-family homes are subject to all township lots. The single-family lots are subject to all township requirements, in particular for zoning and landscaping. The cul-de-sac bulb is to be constructed, it's to be bonded for, and it'll be constructed prior to issuance of the first residential CO. The 3 single-family lots would be subject to major stormwater regulations, as well as it'll be treated as major stormwater development, and all state and township stormwater regulations will apply to these lots. The 40-foot landscape buffer that would be on lot 1.05, did we come to a decision on that, whether that was to be installed as a condition or?
I think we did note that it was shown on the plans, the line area, but as far as the actual sequence in which it goes in, I don't.
Yeah, like
I'm not sure.
when do they plant? Do we want that now, or is there a chance, Mr. Burr, that if it's planted now, they could be damaged down the road? What would your recommendation be?
Well, my recommendation would be to install it now, because it gives the landscaping just more time in the ground, a chance to take off.
And during a site plan application, if anything dies or there's holes, you'll know
It'll have to
about
be
it.
replaced.
Yeah.
Gonna have to
Okay,
be replaced.
so we'll have the 40-foot landscape buffer behind the single-family homes is to be installed as a condition. Fire hydrant on Woodside is to be installed prior to issuance of the first CO. The redevelopment plan is to be followed, and there will be a minimum of 3 single-family lots as depicted on the plan. There will be no merger of those lots, 2.04, 2.05, 2.06 permitted. And those are all the conditions that I had.
Can I just correct one thing, maybe?
Yeah, please.
The 40-feet buffer, that doesn't have to be behind the residential unit. Yeah, as per Mr. Burr, I think he mentioned it can be in 105 lot also. Am I correct?
The
40-feet
Oh,
buffer.
it's gonna be on lot 1.
The landscape buffer is going to be on lot 105, but it's going to be directly behind the 3 residential properties
It'll start
down
on
to
the
the
lot line.
cul-de-sac.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, comment? So the only thing I didn't hear all the conditions, but the one that I did hear very well was about planting the buffer now. It's not practical. There really needs to be a lot of grading done on that lot, lot 1.05. So it doesn't make sense to do it now, but I mean, we'll agree to some kind of condition that says, when we do it, we will plant high enough trees so to make up the difference for whatever has gone by while we're grading the property. Or something like that, or dedicate a deed restricted property in some way to that condition.
Deed restriction, because they're gonna have to submit deeds to the review and satisfaction of, you say there's gotta be a 40-foot.
Yeah, I mean, if I had a site plan in front of me that showed the grade was going to come up 8 feet in the final build-out condition, then I would agree. It doesn't make sense to put landscape in now that, you know, there's a ton of grading that has to be done, but I don't have that information. You know, if it has to be built up in that area, nothing stops the applicant from building up the grade in that particular area to get the landscaping ready to be planted. But I just don't know what the ensuing construction might entail. It's hard for me to say.
I think it's a board decision.
You know, the only thing I would say is that, you know, this is a condition related to the other building, the building that's not before the board. And it's really reaching out and grabbing a part of the other building and trying to apply it here. You'd have to get a soil movement permit to do this. And I'm not sure that the board that we're going to get a soil movement permit to do this work in advance of a site plan approval for a building. I mean, so I think it's well intentioned, but I think overreaching.
I'm not the guy you gotta convince.
I know.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. So the options would be to, you know, do the installation with potential soil movement, this or that, or have it set out in the deed for lot 1.05 that there has to be a 40-foot buffer and make it, you know, make it clear. But I think it's the board has to make the call on that.
Any comments to that effect?
I don't know if somebody, you want me to, so, you know, in the absence of more refined engineering plans, we probably could have a note placed on the subdivision plan that speaks to the need to install the landscape buffer at the beginning of the site work phase of the non-residential portion. You know, if it truly is not possible to do it now because of all of the other site work that may come at some point in the future, I think it at least needs to be memorialized on this plan to indicate that that's going to be prioritized with the ensuing site work. The sooner it gets in, the sooner it gets in the ground and is protected, the better chance it has as a compromise. Because I really don't know what site work, grading-wise, to Mr. Coakley's point, is going to come with this final plan. So it's hard for me to just recommend to the board, no, absolutely, the landscaping has to go in now, because I would hate to have it go in now and then it has to get all ripped out and we're back at square one anyway. I don't know if, Catherine, if you have a...
Yeah, I think the note on the plan is probably satisfactory, at least in my opinion. I'd like to see a landscape plan. I'd like to see the design. I'd like to see the types of plantings, the distance between them, the species. So in the absence of not having a landscape plan, which would come with a site plan, I think the note on the plan for now would be fine. And we'll deal with the plantings, the actual plantings later on.
Does it need a certain duration for it to be effective?
I mean, that's going to, I think the species, the planting height, that's all going to come into play. So if we lose, what could have been a year worth of growth or something, then maybe we make up when it comes for a site plan and say, okay, we want, some bigger, more.
Well, they did, I think, indicate that if they could wait, they would plan slightly higher than ordinarily.
And as long as it's on the subdivision plan so that whoever it is, me or someone else in the future, would be able to look at that note and say, okay, we're owed something.
Is there anybody opposed to making that the condition for approval?
I have one question, Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Peck, everybody in the towns, basically residents, raised concerns about the sale sign. Is there any, can we tell them to remove it, or?
Well, I think that they've heard that, but I mean, if they're selling lots that don't exist, I mean, these lots won't come into existence until they get final subdivision approval and comply with all the conditions. I mean, that's not gonna happen tomorrow, it's not gonna happen probably 6 months from now. So, I mean, again, unless they're selling like, hey, potential future lot, I mean, you can't stop, people have the right to contract, but I don't know what they're selling right now, because these lots don't exist.
Yeah, I just want to raise the question because the
Well, I think
lots
they've
of
heard
residents.
that,
Okay.
loud and clear that that's really rubbed people the wrong way.
Right, thank you.
If nothing else. But they, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing for them to sell. These lots aren't in existence.
I don't think it's that unusual for a builder who has an as-of-right ability to build. Again, as-of-right has a particular context to advertise his property. Perhaps maybe not the best judgment, but not unusual.
No, I personally have no problem at all. I was just respecting the, residents who raised these concerns. That's all. That's why I'm asking.
Do you know if they're, sorry.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, if they're also is it just a for sale sign, or are they sharing layout of the houses?
I don't know. I don't
Okay.
think any of us knows.
Sounds like there's some misinformation from those for sale signs. That's up to whoever's selling them and doing that. That's going to impact their own sale. It sounds like the misinformation had a little bit of fear mongering for the people in the audience. Hopefully, this meeting clarifies that the township has no, nothing to do with that, and that's really at their kind of peril. Yeah.
So in light of all the, miscommunication, some things, we don't have control over, but maybe we can have better control in what the planning board gets as a really nice package from Nancy. And I want to make sure I get to see what they've received in the mail, because it seems like they're saying on the internet it's different. You guys received some communication that was also different. And then I want to make sure it's not different from what we received. So in the future, if there's a way of just better communication, so what we're reviewing is truly what we're listening to.
We can't argue with that. We'll try to better communicate.
Thank you so much.
I just had a few clarifications of the conditions, or additions maybe to the conditions for Mr. Peck's list. One was to have the lot notations confirmed by the tax assessor. Another was that the fire hydrant will be under the fire official's review, so location and specifications would be under the fire official review, in addition to the condition about it being installed prior to the first CO. As I mentioned before, I would recommend that any of these conditions be added as notations on any final subdivision plat, all the ones that Mr. Peck noted, and that any public water or sewer information be included on that subdivision plat. I believe it might be a checklist item too, so it would have to be provided anyway. And then finally, that all of these changes be provided on a sheet that is separate from the survey on its own subdivision plat, because currently the sheet we did get shows existing proposed conditions, and a lot gets lost, so I would prefer that be done on a separate plan sheet. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Peck, do we have, even though it's included in the redevelopment plan, do we have addressed Mr. Pops' earlier concern about the wetland area or the wet area that juts out? Could we make that a condition? Or is that inherent from?
I mean, it's already in the redevelopment plan, which is an overlay that says no access, but we can, belt, suspenders, and then another belt, we'll put it in there that no access from Adamsville.
Right.
Right?
Are there any other comments or proposed conditions? Mr. Magura?
Sure. Okay, the applicant is in the development stage of this project. The question here is, can I subdivide this piece of property? If we say yes, he can then proceed to develop a project scope, a cost estimate, an execution plan, and hopefully a site plan in the next time. A lot of these questions that we have will be addressed with that project scope, including the hydrants. But I think that's what he's looking for right now. After we give an approval or not, if we do give him approval, he has the path to proceed. And then we'll see what happens from there. That's all.
Yeah. Any other comments before I open it up for deliberations? Okay, I'll close the comments and officially open it up for deliberations. Mr. Chowdhury?
I can motion.
Well, I'd like to,
If there's any more deliberations.
any more deliberations at all?
No, I just want to let you know, Mr. Chair, that at least, next time probably it will be less confusions to both for ourselves as well as the residents. And hopefully at least we can do some better homework to make sure that we can come with the clean informations and proposals.
Thank you, Mr. Chowdhury. And if I could make a quick comment, I certainly don't take offense to any of the commentary that was brought up this evening. I think it's important for this board to hear. I do, however, encourage everyone to go back and perhaps take a listen to the record from 2024. This is not the first time that we're hearing anything that's taking place on this site. It's not the first time that we've addressed stormwater management issues. We spend quite some time addressing some of these issues. I'm looking at that wooded lot there, and I'm thinking about that head wall that's there that was developed in the early 1980s, and about how they were talking about having to redevelop that, to address some of the further, the flooding downstream. I do remember we had our Director of Municipal Services here at that night that was addressing, I believe there was an intersection further down there. I don't recall exactly what it was, and about how things take place there. This is not a conveyor belt board. We are your fellow residents. The public, these are the members of the public here. So any issue or application that's brought before us, it's important to understand that we're not here to prevent development. We're here to encourage smart development. We're here to improve development, right? So whenever there's an application that comes before our board, it's an opportunity to improve the existing condition. I'm looking at a lot there that's been sitting there as, we talk about a parcel sitting that's unimproved. It's been an eyesore. It's been unfinished for several years now, dare I say over a decade. Yeah. When you have an opportunity to improve this type of condition, you're looking at, the potential to improve your neighborhood as well. We're a methodical board. Our job is to understand your emotions, because we have emotions as well here, but we have to also be methodical, and we have to be procedural about what takes place and how it's done. Whether this passes tonight or it does not, does not have an effect as to what's going to happen when this becomes a site plan before us. We have every and all right to deliberate that, for several evenings if we have to. I do want to point out, however, that I appreciate the work that our professionals have done, because if it hadn't been for them this evening, for example, they brought up the fact that we could put a condition for stormwater management review of these 3 single lots before it even has to happen, right? So they keep us in check here, right? It's emotional for you, but it's emotional for us as well. We have to make sure that we understand this is Bridgewater, and Bridgewater has a water in the name, right? And every one of us here is concerned about that, from every neighborhood in the township. Again, it's not the first time we've heard this. We have a redevelopment plan we have to follow. This is how it works. We want smart development, part of township's ordinance. And at the end of the day, when the site plan does come in here, we want to make sure that they're a good neighbor. And that's going to be the time to hold them to be a good neighbor. That's the time that we're going to have an opportunity to say, how good of a neighbor you're going to be to Woodside Lane, right? So these are all things that we want to consider up here on this dais. And I appreciate everybody's commentary. It's important. I do want to just mention that we have a member of the Environmental Commission here that's on our board as well. And he does walk the site. And he's very sensitive to any and all environmental issues that we do have in the township. So please understand that we are members of this township, and we are your fellow residents. Okay? Any other comments? Okay.
I just wanted to add, I'm very happy with the professionals we had. I just wanted to ask, since I wasn't here last year, did the redevelopment planner also kind of provide all of this type of feedback that's very easy to digest for our neighbors?
Very much.
Okay. Yeah, so like you said, I think go back, I'm going to go back and watch all the recordings as well.
Yeah, and implore everyone to. Okay. Mr. Peck?
Well, if someone's inclined to make a motion, either to approve or deny the application, if the motion would be to approve the application, would be to make a motion to grant preliminary subdivision approval, subject to the conditions that we elaborated. And of course, if you want to deny, it's just deny. To approve with, subject to all the various enumerated conditions.
That's Mr. Pappas. Could I have a second to that motion, please? Mr. Bongiorno? Ms. Probst, could I have a roll call, please?
Vesio.
Yes?
Mr. Bongiorno.
Yes.
Councilwoman Isla.
Yes.
Mr. Pappas.
Yes.
Mr. Magora.
Yes.
Mr. Wang.
Yes.
And Mr. Chowdhury.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Probst. Mr. Cheney, thank you very much for the application presented this evening.
Thank you. Have a great evening, and we look forward to working with the board in the future applications.
Very much so. Thank you.
We'll see you with final.
Yep. Okay, moving along, we do not have any other business on the agenda this evening. Are there any general comments from our board? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Special meeting on the 31st.
Special meeting. Ms. Probst, anything else we want to add to the calendar?
I was just going to remind everybody about the special meeting on the 31st.
Very good. Okay, with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Mr. Bongiorno, second, please. Mr. Chowdhury, all in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, everyone.